Welcome back to another episode of the Big J Little J Show. In today's episode, we will be recapping Duke's loss against Illinois and previewing Duke at Tulane. Look, Duke lost 45-19 at home in a weird game. Duke gained Illinois 438 to 419, but they shot themselves in the foot with 5 turnovers, 1 interception, and four fumbles. Special teams, we'll talk about it, Connor, continue to be an issue. Keyshawn Brown, he had a fumble that led to Illinois' first touchdown. And then to start the third quarter, Duke got a 3-and-out against Illinois. Illinois punted. Duke had 2 guys wearing the same jersey on the field, got an automatic first down on a 5-yard penalty. And both head coaches even said after the game that was a pivotal moment in the game and kind of the turning point in the game. And so, Connor, what happened there, and what did Manny Diaz have to say about that?
So we're still a little unclear on some things here. Basically, one of the number 8s was supposed to be on the field. One of them was not. That much is obvious. It wasn't a situation where Duke wanted both of them on the field and wanted one of them to be wearing wearing an alternate jersey number. That happens sometimes. Usually the ref will announce to the crowd, like, number whatever is now wearing number whatever for this play. It's usually on kickoffs. That's not the case. Deshaun Stone and Jaden Moore are the number 8s on Duke's roster. Manny declined to go into specifics of who was wrong and who was right. I'm 90% sure that I know what happened. I've written a story on Devils Illustrated to kind of lay it out there as best I can without definitively saying this guy was wrong and this guy was supposed to be there. But basically, Duke had 2 number 8s on the field for a play. Illinois had a good assistant special teams coordinator who screamed it out. Bielema pointed out to refs, which this is one of those things I think does happen a lot more often than it gets flagged. You have to have coaching staffs that are on top of these things. There's more confusion because Bielema said something about Illinois had scouted it and made it seem like Duke had done this before, and it just hadn't been flagged.
That's not good.
I went back and looked. So here's the thing. I know we're going to get so far into the weeds and we're not even 3 minutes into this thing. But
Let's do it.
I could have sworn on Keyshawn Brown's punt return against Elon for a touchdown that Duke had 2 of the same number on the field. But I kind of lost track of it trying to see what actually happened and a lot of other things going on at that point. I think I thought that because Leon Griffin III wears number 6. His jersey gets rolled up a little bit. It looks like a number 8. Like the number 6 looks like a number 8. So that's where I think I was confused. I don't know if that's what Illinois saw also. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know if I fully believe the coincidence of it happening with the number 8. One player was supposed to be on the field. One player wasn't. They both wound up on the field. There's confusion. Manny took the responsibility of it, which is admirable. It does also fall on Gabe Infante's shoulders as a special teams coordinator, and it falls on whatever position coach is in charge of punt return, which, if I understand the structure of the staff the right way, I think that's another thing to kind of clear up. Special teams coordinator is not hands-on with every single special teams unit. Those are delegated to the position coaches. And position coaches are the ones that coach those units. And the special teams coordinator is kind of the head coach of the special teams.
Yeah, I was going to say that Manny obviously is just being a head coach saying he takes the fall as his responsibility. But in reality, that's not a head coach. The head coach is not worried about 2 guys on the field at the same time. He is thinking 3 steps ahead in the game about what's going to happen if Duke is going to go down the field and score or get ready on defense. So they go 3 and out. He's not thinking about what's currently happening. He's thinking about what's about to happen later in the game. And to that point, that's where you have a special teams analyst or a GA. Like, that is like their job to help the special teams coach, special teams coordinator, like, hey, we have 2 number 8s, or oh shit, somebody called timeout. Like something needs to happen there where, I mean, that was the first time I've seen Manny yelling mad on a Duke sideline. Everything that he's ever shown has been joyous. And like, there's things that looks like it's been going wrong. It looks like Manny Diaz is always like, hey, that's all right, keep your head up, next play. He was livid, all things considered, what Manny Diaz has shown on the Duke sideline. So, you know, whoever it was, I know obviously he said he takes the blame for it, but that was not a fun coaches meeting, I'm sure, after the game, because it really opened up the game. I mean, Duke beat, like, Illinois is a really good football team. They scored 45 points, and you know they blew out Duke, and they were a 3-point favorite or whatever. But Duke just gave them so many opportunities to blow them out, and good teams take advantage of mistakes, and we saw that happen. And now they're ranked number 9 in the country, and that game was nowhere near what the score indicated. Like I said, Brown fumbling. I think he said he's explosive. I love Brown. I love Queso back there. Like, he's very quick and twitchy. But I want to say, Connor, this is like the 4th, maybe 5th fumble that he's had as a punt returner for Duke since the start of last year. And I'm at the point, like, I know he had a touchdown against Elon, which is great, but there's just more, I'll say a 4-to-1 fumble to touchdown ratio is not a ratio I want for my punt returner. And so I just think that they said the sun was in his eyes. I get it, but I hate to break it to you. When there's a noon kickoff or a 3:30 kickoff, the sun's always going to be there. It's going to be there. So if you are going to make that as an excuse, then maybe either give them sunglasses or just tell them don't catch it at all. Just get away from it. And so that was very frustrating to see Duke just hand Illinois, because Illinois had zero confidence offensively, and they get a free touchdown in the red zone. And so that was a very tough way to start the game.
That was another random ass note about Brett Bielema. I watched him about an hour and 20 minutes before the game started, just when Duke specialists were warming up on that side of the field. Bielema walked around there at like the 10-yard line and stared straight up to see where the sun was in Duke Stadium, and understand, like, if you were down there either catching a kickoff or a punt, you were going to be looking kind of straight into the sun. So,
I mean, he's a weirdo, but weirdos win games, and he has them number 9. And I love weirdos. I'm not saying that as a negative connotation. I think that is a very unique way to think about it, and that's why they got 7 points. I mean, it was luck, but also you kind of put the luck on your side with what you said. You're out on the field, it's like, oh, I'm looking right into the sun. We're going to defer the other way.
If I understand the way you're using weirdo correctly, like, weirdos make for good football coaches because they're detail oriented.
Correct. Yes. Like I said, not a negative connotation to that. Yeah. That is the compliment. Like, I like my guys weird. I like that. I like Manny's unique way of thinking, that the way he views time in a football game. Like, the scoreboard means nothing. It's till the clock hits 0. I think that's a unique perspective of how to play the game. I like that stuff. And Brett Bielema is, speaking of weirdo tactics, the substitutions. Like, that seemed to be a thorn into Duke's side. And what is your thoughts on that, and with within the rules as well?
So there's a ton of gamesmanship that goes on in college football now with the substitutions. And obviously, I think everybody knows the rule is generally, if the offense subs, then the defense has to be given a chance to sub. The defense can sub all they want. It's just, if they don't sub in time, then they're going to get flagged for having too many men on the field. But if the offense changes its personnel, the defense gets a chance to sub. And those are the times that you see the ref standing right behind the center and will not let the ball be snapped until the defensive guy has had a chance to get off the field. And what did you say they said on the broadcast? 2 or 3 seconds?
Yeah, I was listening a little bit to it, and they said something like it's a 2 or 3 count, to where the last, it's like a one Mississippi type of thing. When you get to either 2 or 3, that's the window to sub. And Brett Bielema is known to wait for the very last millisecond to make that sub, and then they take their time, because you can't walk, but you can really slow trot on and off the field. Yeah. And obviously they did that last year. I remember he got into it with the coach. I forgot what coach that was, but it was very funny to see him kind of taunt the other coach.
Was it with Beamer in the bowl game?
It might have been.
Is that what they were?
Yes.
I know they had.
game.
I know they had this shouting match in the bowl game. I just didn't know the context of it.
It was the subs. It was the substituting, and he was letting Beamer have it because that is a chess play. Like, it is very frustrating as a Duke fan that Duke got a delay of game. But when you are that savvy within the rule book, like, look, I tip the cap. Like, Duke got outcoached in those certain situations where a coach knows how to bend the rule to just a millisecond to his advantage.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to sports, right? It's the NASCAR adage. We're in North Carolina. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And it's not even cheating. It's just bending the rules. Like, the new coach at North Carolina is famous for doing, like, he is perhaps most famous of coaching football at any level for stretching the rules as far as possible to his advantage. Like, that's just it's kind of what you have to do if you want to gain a competitive edge. And there are a lot of teams that, nowadays everybody wants to go up tempo. And if you sub as an offense, you're at an inherent disadvantage. Now you can turn that into an advantage with your personnel and with talent levels, but defenses are so desperate to find any type of way to slow you down and to give themselves just a couple more seconds of communication of a way to, Dave Clawson used to call it like a snapshot, and the what an offense looks like pre-snap is a snapshot of how they're lined up. If you go as fast as possible offensively, you're giving the defense less time to read that. Like, you're not allowing them to process how you're lined up. So the subbing stuff and kind of lackadaisically jogging off the field and subbing out a 320-pound defensive tackle, even if he might not be tired, even if he like just came on for a snap or two, but you sub him out anyway because nobody's looking at the 320-pound defensive tackle and thinking that guy should be sprinting full speed off the field. So it's
like John Harbaugh.
It's a gamesmanship play.
Yeah, it's like John Harbaugh, I think a few years ago, where they were punting with 10 seconds left, and he just told everybody to hold, and they literally ran out the clock, and he went out of the back of the end zone. There was a billion holding calls, but within the rules, that the game's over because of that. Yeah. And so, like, that's gamesmanship. They changed the rule because of that, but that's what at the time it was legal, and so it's just a savvy play.
Whatever thing that Dan Lanning did against Ohio State last year to win, with the intentional 12 men on the field.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Now let's dive into this game, Connor, a little bit more. The defense. Where do you want to start? You want to start with offense or you want to start with defense?
I don't know. Have we talked special teams enough?
Yeah, we talk special teams plenty. I mean, that they have to figure that out. It's just that has been the one area that's been the most inconsistent in Manny Diaz's tenure so far is special teams. Yeah. Obviously, we know SMU, but there was other games last year. Hell, the reason last thing about special teams last year, week 2, the reason Duke went to overtime at Northwestern is because Brown fumbled a punt inside the red zone, and that's how Northwestern went up 7-0. So that just a weird dynamic of week 2 against a Big Ten team, and those I'll give him benefit of the doubt because the wind was howling. But point being, special teams needs to figure it out. I'm not happy with special teams. I'm very uneasy about it. Let's go save Mensah for last. We'll save Mensah for last. Let's go defense. So defense is an area of concern because we're 2 games in now. They have yet to force a turnover. They have been struggling on 3rd and 4th down. Like, I don't have it in front of me. I think Illinois is 5 of 13 on 3rd down, which looks like a good percentage. But when you add, they were 2 for 2. I might actually have it right here. Let me look. Box score.
Yeah, you're right. 5 for 13 on 3rd, and then 2 for 2 on 4th. Which
so when you stop them on twice on 3rd down, like it's 5 of 13, but it's really 7 of 15. That's not great. And when you consider that, again, the first touchdown was the botched punt. The second touchdown they scored was 3rd and 22. Duke does an all-out blitz, and the screen pass blows it up for a first down. I like when Duke's aggressive. I did not like that aggressive call because again, at the time, Illinois' offense had no confidence. Luke Altmaier was missing throws. The run game was never established. They were going conservative to try and just get yards, and Duke sent the house and got burned for it. So 3rd and 22 is converted. Then there's a 3rd and 13 in that drive that's converted, and then it's 3rd and goal at the 9-yard line, and they score a touchdown. Like 3 3rd and longs on the same drive leads to a touchdown. That was just a brutal way to give up a drive that Duke was controlling the whole game until that standpoint defensively. And so I want to talk about the defense. Is there any area of concern? We'll get into the PFF grades and performances, or we can even start on the defense side of the ball. I'll start with the good. Or go ahead.
Yeah,
you got
I got my notes out.
Yeah, give me some of your notes.
They didn't convert a 3rd and 13 on that one. It was 3rd and 13, and they got 12, and then they got 4th and 1.
Thank you. Okay,
so
4th and 1.
That's one of the ones where, yeah, in the stats it goes down as you got a 3rd down stop. It is very much not a 3rd down stop when you give up 12 on 3rd and 13, and whether the offense stays on the field or not, it's a bad play to give up 12 yards on 3rd and 13, obviously. Yeah. But it's made worse when they can just run the ball for 1 yard. I think that was an Altmaier sneak. No, they gave it to the. We never talked about the fact that they had a running back who was 6'3", 250.
Yeah, he was a mammoth. But Duke did besides the 2 4th and short runs, Duke contained the run game throughout the whole game. That was my concern. I thought that the run game after seeing the Elon game would be the reason Duke lost with the linebacker play from Elon, which I'm going to get into now. But first, Vincent Anthony Jr., stud. 4 QB pressures, 3 sacks, 3 run stops. He put on a show on the national stage to get NFL draft. You know how everybody is like a now NFL draft guru or expert. They were tweeting Vincent Anthony Jr., who is this guy? Look at his bend at 6'6". He was a freak against Illinois. He is the best edge rusher in the ACC, in my opinion, and he showed out against Illinois.
Yeah, I don't give a shit what the Twitter draft experts think. I was
just poking fun at him.
I walked in with a Lions scout and can tell you there were anywhere from like 8 to 12 NFL guys in there. And that's kind of the other side of the coin. Like week 1 had a ton of marquee matchups. Like I'm sure there were probably 30 plus at Ohio State, Texas. And I don't know if there were any at Duke Elon, but the week 2 slate was pretty bad. So if you were an NFL scout and you wanted to see high level teams against each other, you were kind of either one of like 4 or 5 places in the whole country, and Duke was one of them. So I think VJ made himself some money. Obviously, he's got to do it for the rest of the season. If he never shows up again, then it's not like he's still going to be a day 1 or 2 pick. But
yeah,
he did make himself some money in front of personnel.
So the linebacker play, as well as I talked about last week, they as a unit did not perform very well, especially on PFF grades. But one guy that did really well this last game that had a lot of snaps was Nick Morris Jr. Outstanding game, 8 tackles, 5 run stops, and no missed tackles. So Nick Morris came ready to play, was outstanding. Trey Freeman was the lowest linebacker grade out of all of them, out of all the linebackers that played. 2 missed tackles, he's going to be fine. I mean, he was second team All ACC last year, but that is an area of concern where he missed a couple tackles. And Luke Murgott had, I think he played 15 to 20 snaps, Connor?
16
snaps. And he remind me his grade difference from week 1 to week 2.
53.3.
Upgrade.
He went from a grade in the 30s against Elon. I think it was like 31 something. To an 84.9 against Illinois, which is just an astronomical jump. That's kind of the reason we didn't see more of Bradley Gompers, like based on the Elon game and based on looking at PFF grades, which again, they're not gospel.
Right.
You would have thought Luke Murgott out, Bradley Gompers get him 15 to 20 snaps, but it's complete opposite. Luke Murgott had a PBU. I think that was the only time he was targeted. I think he had 1 tackle, and that's where you kind of are at the mercy of the PFF grader for them saying that he was playing assignment sound football. But you can you can pretty much blanket statement as Luke Margot was much, much better in week 2 than he was week 1.
And the last thing I'll talk about with the defense is I had the stat of Rivers, Robinson, Callahan last week that they combined 2 catches for -2 yards. This week, the complete opposite, unfortunately, 10 catches for 185 yards and 4 missed tackles within the 3 guys. Callahan did not miss a tackle, so it was Rivers and Robinson, but Callahan allowed 5 catches on 5 targets for 87 yards. Again, though, like, this is why I had this game as a loss in my preseason preview. I just knew I had a feeling experience was going to beat inexperience, and you saw that. I mean, I think both Callahan and Robinson with snaps, they'll be fine and they'll be good, but they had a tough day at the office. But with that adversity, I think they will learn from it and get better at it. And my point of contact and my point of reference every time I think about this was when Richmond beat Duke, the second time they beat Duke. There was a true freshman DB on Duke who was getting burnt by Richmond, and his name was Ross Cockrell. And I was like, this guy is horrific. Like, this guy stinks. And we saw what Ross Cockrell turned into. Now, I'm not saying either of them two are going to be Ross Cockrell, but my point being is that's the hardest position outside of quarterback on the field because you're on an island all the time. Oh, welcome to college football. Here's the number 11 team in the country, and we're throwing your way. So rough day at the office for them too, but I have full confidence in them, and they'll grow from this.
I kind of agree. I do think
your facial expression did not initially, but maybe I landed the plane for you.
Yeah, the one weak spot of Illinois in terms of returning production and what question marks there are about them early in the season are with their receivers. Like that's not a position of strength for that team. At least it wasn't in the preseason and off season, and every question mark about Illinois and their personnel this year starts with the receivers.
Yeah,
so
but
Hank Beatty is good. Like that's a really good slot receiver. He immediately had my attention when I'm going through the notes, and he broke a 102-year-old record in the season opener held by Red Grange. Yeah, I mean, just anytime you break a record that is triple digits old, you've done something really, really well. It was an Illinois school record, by the way, to clear that up. But I don't know. I kind of thought Kamari Robinson would be better. He played 400 to 500 snaps last season. He didn't start a lot of games. I think maybe he had one start in there, like personnel based. But he played starters reps. Like he was on the field in big moments last season. He was a virtual starter in my mind. Landon Callahan, that's the one where you're going to have some growing pains when it's week 2 and you've basically played significant snaps against Elon in your career, and that's it. So that one I'll give you, but yeah. I thought Duke would win that matchup.
Also, I'll play some devil's advocate as well to go back on PFF grades. Like, there were times where Duke was running zone and that play happened in front of the DB. That doesn't necessarily mean it was their assignment, that the PFF grade could have given them the bad grade and the target to them when really a linebacker didn't drop in covers or the safeties didn't get over there and that was their assignment. So again, that is just, I can just go off PFF. I love analytics too. So like, I want to try and give the listeners a different perspective or, a even more progressive experience with Duke games. And I say all that with saying like, hey, though it said that Landon Callahan gave up 5 catches on 5 targets, maybe 2 of them were in man and 3 were in zone, and the grades were wrong. But
that's where we have the disclaimers. Like that.
Correct.
PFF sometimes drives me nuts because it's analytics, but it's subjective.
Correct. Yeah. And I do, with that being said, I want to go to the offense side of the ball, Connor. I want you to talk about the PFF grade in whole for the offensive line, because that was the unit that during the game, it just felt like Mensah could not get a rhythm to start because there were rollouts right away. It was just like immediate pressure to him to where obviously he ended up fumbling a couple of times as well in the game and threw a pick. But it just felt like he couldn't get his feet wet like the Elon game. I know it was Elon, but that first read where they were like, just get him rolling and throw it on the run and get him in rhythm. He was thrown on the run, but not willingly against Illinois. His first seemed like 5 pass attempts. So what can you tell me about the offensive line grade?
Tell you, anytime that your highest graded offensive lineman has allowed 3 quarterback pressures and taken a penalty, you probably didn't play that well on the offensive line. That was Brian Party II. I think the website's going really slow, so I can't pull it up to look at it, but I think his grade was around the mid-60s.
I got it right here. It's a 65. He allowed 3 QB hurries and had a penalty.
Yeah. So not everybody a lot of pressure. I think the other pressures were allowed by Fina and Larson. So Pickett and Craycraft didn't allow pressure, but probably left a little bit to be desired in the run blocking game. It's not a great performance. I hedged it in that story too. Like, it felt like Duke's offensive line was playing better when the game was close. And as it got away from Duke, like, that's where I thought some of the pressures came from when Duke was, you're down 2 scores in the second half, you're throwing. That's where Mensah's interception came from, trying to force a ball into Jaden Moore and a DB making a really good play. So I was more, I don't know. I don't want to say impressed, but I thought the offensive line was playing fine to a point.
It's a good point because it was either Graham Barton or Jacob Mock when they were at Duke. They loved running the football because they're like, it's so much easier to block forwards rather than dropping back to block over and over again. Like, they don't mind passing. They understand passing so much, but the wear and tear of an offensive lineman throughout the course of the game when you're dropping back to pass 34 times that's a lot, especially when you're trying to come back from a 2-score deficit. It's like, hey, we are not running at all. We can't afford to. So here comes, if guaranteed 3 straight dropbacks because we're not running. And then if we move the ball, it could be 10 straight dropbacks. And so with that comes the grade you're talking about, where you give up a couple of QB hurries late in the 3rd or early in the 4th when Duke's just trying to play catch up.
There's also a factor here where Duke does not have offensive line depth. They've told us that they like Bradley Smith, but the snap counts kind of bear out a different story. Like, Bradley Smith, I think, played 2 snaps, and those were the only other snaps for an offensive lineman other than the 5 starters. It's hard to run the ball really well when you only play 5. It's just, I always think you want to have at least 6 and preferably 7 playable offensive linemen. And the past couple of years when Duke has run the ball well, they've had a rotation of 6 or 7. This team does not look like they have a rotation right now. They look like it maybe work Bradley Smith in there a time or two, but it's mostly going to be the 5.
Yeah, and with this schedule, there's a lot more, like, there are a lot more games that can sneak up on Duke. Whereas in the preseason, you're like, oh, you can pencil that in as, I'll say pencil in a loose term, but you pencil that as a win. But you also can say, like, there's a couple games on the schedule now. It looks more winnable. Like, Clemson looks beatable compared to what they were preseason to look like, the way they struggled with Troy, and obviously the LSU game week 1. But my point being, UVA and UConn look really solid. UVA is very fun offensively. They just can't stop anything, but they go offensively.
We'll see what they look like in December.
Yeah, that's fine. But even that, like, NC State scored 35 again. That's because NC State UVA can't stop anything. Cal looks good. Syracuse is running sprints after the game. Clearly, it wasn't because they wanted to show the press that, hey, look how hard my guys are playing. But we're
getting Jared McCain flashbacks.
Yeah, I want to go into Mensah. Like, I wanted to get those out of the way because Mensah, look, he has thrown for over 300 yards back-to-back games. The good 23 of 34, 334, and 2 touchdowns. And the interception, I was okay with. I thought it was a hell of a play. I thought it was a great ball when it left his hands. I'm like, that's a great pass. That was a phenomenal play by the DB to pick that off.
Much better play by the DB than it was a bad play by Darian.
I was like an audible gasp when it was picked off. I was like, there's no way he just did that. So that was, in my opinion, that was a great play by the DB. But that was the good. The bad is, for me, he has no feel of backside pressure when he's outside the pocket. When he's in the pocket, that's what makes him so good, is he's just dancing around with his head straight, and he found Cooper Barkate on like a third and medium, third and long for a first down against Elon, and he did it against Illinois. Like, he's very good with pressure around him, looking to throw. He's going to get it out. That's what's impressive. But when he's outside the pocket, one, he runs out of bounds for a negative gain instead of throwing it away. So I need to see his contract to see if there's like an incentive bonus for a completion percentage, because there's no reason why, luckily for him, he threw a touchdown on 4th and goal from the 7-yard line to Andrew Anthony to make it 28-19. There's no reason to play before you run out of bounds you're at the 3rd and goal at the 5. Now it's 4th and goal at the 7. You cannot do that. And you got to throw that ball away.
I get what you're saying, but you just contradicted yourself, because you're talking about he has no feel for backside pressure. But if you're running out of bounds, and if you wind up and there happens to be a guy behind you, then you're stripped and you lose the ball.
No, I'm not contradicting myself. What I'm saying is, when you are outside the pocket and there's nowhere to go, do not tuck and run. Throw it away. Throw it away. Don't run at. You're giving yourself up. You're giving the yards up. Even the broadcast, like, what is he doing? Why does he keep running out of bounds? And the negative play, when I talk about like the outside of the pocket, like the lack of feel is very Daniel Jones-esque, where everybody that's watching the game in person and on TV knows the inevitable is about to happen of a strip sack, except for the quarterback. Like, that is what's the helpless and hopeless feeling of watching him carry it, and he's running, and then he's looking to his right, and then the guy's to his left, and just knocks it out of his hand. And you saw it coming a mile away, but you're screaming, Ricky, and it's not working because he's going to fumble because he can't hear you. But I want to make an example too of this.
Boys in the Hood?
Yeah, Boys in the Hood. Okay. What scares me though about those mistakes, and I know Duke said in the presser that they're all correctable mistakes and stuff. You can argue that it might just be who he is, because last year when he was at Tulane, they played number 17 Kansas State at home. Mensah threw for 342 yards and had 2 touchdowns, but he cost Tulane in the game. It was 27-27, and there was a 60-yard strip sack that went the other way, and that's why Kansas State won the game, is because they strip sacked Mensah, took it the other way to the house to make it 34-27. Tulane drove all the way back down the field, got in the red zone, and he threw an interception to end the game. And to bail him out of that, though, there was a controversial OPI that both coaches said after the game, like, Summerall was pissed about it, and then the Kansas State coach was like, whew, I don't know what they saw. I didn't see OPI. So I give him benefit of the doubt with the interception, but the forced if you watch the fumble against Kansas State, you'll see what I mean, where it was just unacceptable for a quarterback to take that. And then you're like, hey, that's a growing pain mistake for a freshman. He'll learn from it. And here we are a year later, and he kind of did it twice against Illinois. And it's just like, you should have learned from a year ago. You definitely need to learn from it now, because you are getting paid I'm going to say $3 million a year. And you just got to figure it out. And so that is my one worry for him as Duke now goes to Tulane, the team that knows him the best.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I don't know. I've never played the position. It seems like it's really hard to feel backside pressure. You don't have eyes in the back of your head.
Well, Connor, lucky for you, I have played that position, flag football at App State one year, and you can feel the position. I'm just kidding. People are going to take me so serious about that. And it's going to be clipped. Like, listen to this idiot. Joking. I obviously have never played the position either, but it's just something that it just gives me Daniel Jones. Like, I love Daniel Jones, right? 3-0 against Carolina, had great performances, but 0-3 against UVA and had 5 interceptions in one game. Like, I just need Mensah when he throws the ball, I'm like, oh my God, everything's gonna be completed. It's like Steph Curry shooting a three. When that ball leaves his hands, I'm like, that ball is going to be caught by a Duke receiver. But when he's scrambling around, I'm like, for the love of God, hold the ball tight.
Okay, I get it. I mean, Manny said after the game, he called him still a developing player. I mean,
and that's fair.
This is kind of why I hate having the NIL/salary discussion with him, because people think that because his salary is such that he should be able to make plays that developing players don't make. He's not a finished product. He was not a finished product when he came here. It's a 2-year contract. Like, he's probably going to be better next year than he is this year. So that's where, you're kind of straddling this line of, yes, you want him to be really good. You want him to be good, and you want him to not turn the ball over against the number 11 team, and you want to score a ranked win and be the second ACC team to get fined $50,000 for storming the field. But he's still growing. Like, he's a 20-year-old quarterback who has things to learn.
He is. And I will say, like, I say all this because, one, I'm just dissecting the game. But the main thing about the Duke game, the main takeaway I have, believe it or not, after all said and done, is I was very shocked at how evenly, if not better, Duke looked than the number 11 team in the country. Now, you can argue that Illinois shouldn't be top. Now they're top 10. They're like more of a fringe 15 to 20 when it's all said and done at the end of the year. That's fine. I'm not going to argue that. But in that moment, I was like, wow, like Duke is controlling the trenches on both sides of the ball. They're getting what they want offensively. The fun fact about Duke's offense, in 2 games, they've punted twice. So when they're moving the ball, they just keep turning it over against Illinois. The last thing I want to touch base on is when Duke did score to make it 28-19. That was a big touchdown. I hated going for 2 right there. I said it before the show and took a jab at me, but this is my line of thinking, because I'm with you when that score makes it 28-20. We vouched for Elko when Pittsburgh game happened. Duke went for 2 and they didn't get it, and then that ended up costing them the game because they went for 2 again, didn't get it. But when it's 28-19 and you don't get it, you turn a 2-score game and you keep it a 2-score game. Just make it a 1-score game at 28-20 with the extra point, and then you go for 2, because now the momentum you just got to make it 28-19 and you don't get the 2-point conversion, it's still a 2-score game after all that work that you just did. Like, that's a kick in the balls when you have been trailing so hard, so long, and you're like, finally, it's a 1-score game. You're like, wait, actually, we're going to go for 2. Oh, we didn't get it. It's still a 2-score game. That's kicking the balls. Just take the points. God knows the special teams unit needs to get out there and keep repping everything. So we need all the extra point practice we can get.
If you're in search of special teams reps against the number 11 team in the country just for shits and gigs, and to make sure that you get an extra PAT rep out there, then you didn't do nearly enough in fall camp.
I just all jokes aside, just get the points and to make it a 1-score game. But if that touchdown made it 28-20, I understand going for 2. I will, I understand that logic. But when it's 28-19, that makes no damn sense. So that's the last thing I have to say about the game.
You know what solves all this?
Not trailing.
That, and also not kicking field goals, like finishing drives when you get to what yard line do you get if you kick a 40-yarder? Because I think both of Polino's
23-yard line, 17 yards.
Yeah. When you get to the 23, push it forward and get in the end zone, and then you're not worried about that because you have 6 points on the board instead of 3.
I just think Manny Diaz is a sicko and loves the number 26, because I was thinking the whole time Duke's going to fall on 26 points here. Luckily, I guess for that narrative,
we now have
zone or in the red zone again to make it 19 permanently late in the game. Duke's totally going to score a garbage touchdown and lose 45-26.
We'll see. I think Duke's number this year is 45 because the winning team in both games have scored 45 points.
That's a great point.
Who's getting to 45 in the Tulane game?
Hopefully Duke. And that leads us right to the preview.
Don't lead us there yet. I want to talk about the 2-point conversions because I have lots.
Here we go. I'm right. He's wrong. But it's fine. Let's go ahead, Big J. Let's hear why your big brain here, why that was the right decision.
No, honest, I don't know if it's the right decision or not. And it's kind of been taken out of our hands to determine whether it's the right decision or not, because these coaches employ, I don't know for sure that Duke does this, but I know most do. You employ an analytics company to give you a printout on like Wednesday or Thursday that tells you time and situation and score, and it's an entire chart, and it's opponent based. Like it's different against Elon than it is against Illinois, than it is against Tulane, so on and so forth. So I had this discussion with JJ on Locked On last week on Friday. Like analytics, the way it's deployed in college football now and in most sports, it's meant to help you make decisions before the game so that you're able to focus on other shit rather than getting caught up in the heat of the moment decisions. And there's, if you make those decisions and you clear that up and you stick to the card, it's a West Wing reference, stick to the card, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like that's where these coaches go. So I don't know. I mean, we can question whether they should go for 2 or not, but we don't have the data that they have. I just don't understand. Like,
I have this data right here. I have this big brain right here, Connor. This is just PTSD from every Duke game and Duke loss that's ever been documented from 1999 until 2025.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
this is your analytics right here, baby. Right here, my noggin.
It's the same discussion that we've been having about since that Pitt game was what, almost 4 years ago now?
Yes, but again, we were on the same page there. Well, like I said, if 28-20, I get the vision. 28-19 makes no damn sense. There's too much risk. But
the way Manny explained it, an 8-point deficit, even though nobody thinks of it this way now, but coaches and staffs in higher levels of football than you or I ever dreamed of playing, they think of an 8-point game as a 2-score game because you've got to get it in the end zone twice.
Well, yeah, but you know what? When it's a 9-score game, you definitely have to get the end zone twice, or you have to get a touchdown, and then you have to get a damn stop that Duke couldn't do in the second half, and then you got to kick a field goal. Like there's a lot more different variables than, hey, here's a touchdown, and then we're at the 2 or 3 yard line, and you got to get up a 2-point conversion. I also don't like a rollout on a 2-point attempt. I don't like eliminating half to 3/4 of the field for 1 to 2 options on the short side. I just will never like that.
It's the same point though. It's being able to make your decision faster. Like you go for 2 early so that you know later in the game whether you need 2 scores or 1 score.
But my argument to that is Duke should have went for 2 when they scored to make it 14-12. They kicked the extra point to make it 14-13. Just go for 2 there. So then you do know if you need a field goal or not because it's in the first half.
And that's where I think it probably says on that chart in the first half, take the points. No matter what part of the game, no matter what the score is, the first half, always just take the 1 point.
I'm manager Lou right now on freaking Major League, and I'm grabbing that sheet and I'm pissing on it in front of everybody. Like, oh, this is your analytics? Just pee on it in the dirt like it's Roger Dorn's contract. Makes no sense. But Tulane, I know Tulane fans are going to listen to this because they want to hear our preview, and we are 45 minutes into the preview. So, look, you heard us talking about Mensah, and you're going to be like, egg on your face that you got a guy that is a turnover quarterback. We all could have told you. He's thrown for over 700 yards in 2 games. I'm fine with that. Just limit the turnovers. He's special. Like, talent-wise, he's the best quarterback Duke's had in a very, very long time. So, I'll get into Duke Tulane now. Tulane's currently a 3-point favorite. Tulane's had an interesting year at the quarterback position. Darian Mensah is now at Duke. In comes TJ Finley, who's transferred like 5 times in 4 years. TJ Finley gets in legal trouble about purchasing a stolen truck on Facebook. So then he leaves Tulane. TJ Finley is now at Georgia State. And then comes Jake Retzlaff from BYU because Retzlaff got in trouble at BYU because you just can't look at a girl at BYU, so he went to Tulane, to where you can look at a lot of girls at Tulane. So Retzlaff is now at Tulane. Talk about just complete night and day of like campuses. You go from BYU to Tulane. My God. But Retzlaff's very talented, very
Are
fun.
you saying there's more to do in New Orleans than there is in, where's BYU, Provo?
You go from not hugging to seeing titties everywhere. Yes, there is. It's complete night and day. I mean, I just can't imagine. Like,
food's probably a little bit different too.
Who?
The food is probably a little bit different. Like the seasoning on that thing.
When I think of New Orleans, I think of food. I think of Triple D.
Diners, dives, and drive-ins.
Yes, Triple D. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But Retzlaff was very fun at BYU. He's been solid at Tulane. He's looking to beat you with his legs more than his arms. He has thrown for 152 and 125 yards in his first 2 games with less than a 60% completion percentage. But Tulane's offensive identity is running the football. And I say that Retzlaff leads the team in rushing yards with 177 yards. And they have 3 to 4 running backs they play. And 3 of them have over 100 yards. And actually, no, 2 have over 100. One has like 86 yards. And the team averages 6 yards per carry. So they run the ball.
They have 2 FBS wins already. Northwestern, and who they beat this week?
They beat South Alabama. They beat South Alabama.
2 FBS wins.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was thinking G5.
FBS, not Power Conference.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, they beat South Alabama 33-31, which I'll talk about because that is a game where, look, Tulane looked impressive against Northwestern's.
I'm guessing they didn't cover.
No, they did not cover. They played at USA also, which is, great initials, but it's at the end of the day, their defense looked impressive against Northwestern's corpse of an offense. I mean, Northwestern hasn't had an offense in, I don't know, since Fitzgerald was there. Obviously, he was there a couple years ago, but when they won the Big Ten or the Big Ten West or whatever they're in.
They just lost Cam Porter for the season too.
Did they really? Dude. Preston Stone was horrendous against, I think he had like 5 turnovers against Tulane, and it was bad. But obviously they beat Northwestern like 23-3, I think, first game, and then they beat South Alabama 33-31. But South Alabama's quarterback, Bishop Davenport, was 17 of 24 with 231 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 63 rushing yards and a TD on the ground. USA had 190 rushing yards as well. So it just showed that, hey, a competent offense can move the ball against Tulane. If USA is moving the ball against them, the one thing that is going well for Duke right now offensively is moving the ball. Tulane's given up yards on passing and rushing last game, and the one thing Duke has done well to start the year is moving the ball. They just cannot finish drives. So turn these turnovers into points and touchdowns, like you said, instead of field goals, then, Duke could be that team that scores 45, as we were saying, is Duke's favorite number this season.
Yeah, that's really what I'm looking at is I have questions about how correctable these mistakes are, because I'm right there. I wrote a column after Saturday's game of you can tell me after game 1 that there were first game jitters and there were nervous mistakes, and I'll buy it. Like, that's fine. It happens. When the same stuff shows up in game 2, it's a problem. Like, maybe that's not a problem for a team that's just looking to win 6 or 7 games and make a bowl game, but that's not what this Duke team wants to do. This team is a team that thinks they can compete atop the ACC. So they need to be held to a higher standard, and holding them to a higher standard means when you turn the ball over 5 times, when a worse play is a 5-yard penalty that completely changes the game and the situation that it happened, that's not the makeup of a team that can compete atop the ACC, even if the ACC does kind of suck this year again. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Like, the mistakes for Duke, they're alarming because of what this team aspires to be and how short they are from being that type of team if they're going to make the catastrophic mistakes. And Saturday's a great example of it, because I was telling somebody earlier today, I would say Duke had the edge in 60 to 80% of the snaps against Illinois. Like, they were outplaying Illinois. But 60 to 80% of the snaps doesn't matter if you have slight wins and slight advantages. When the 20 to 40% that you lose, you're losing in catastrophic fashion. You're turning the ball over. You're giving up a 3rd and 21 conversion. You're giving up a what was the throw Retzlaff had where he was basically being dragged down in the pocket, like a 3rd and 12 conversion to the goal line. When you're making those,
Altmaier.
Yeah, who did I say?
You said Retzlaff because we're talking about Tulane.
Okay, don't have a crystal ball, but when you're making those types of mistakes, that's a problem, and that's a problem when it's happened 2 games in a row, and that's what I want to see from Duke, and whether they can actually bounce back and put the mistakes behind them.
Yeah, I mean, look, Duke only had 1 turnover against Elon, but again, Queso had a fumble punt that he had just landed on right away. It could have been 2 turnovers in that game, and Duke has not forced any turnovers this season. And when they say it's correctable mistakes, yeah, sure. Mistakes are correctable, right? Like, that's why they're mistakes. You should be able to correct your mistakes. But again, seeing Duke be this careless with the football. I mean, Samir Hagan's had a great run after catch, and then you got to know they're coming at you from behind to punch it out. Like, you just got to be strong with it. And you're a 5th-year senior. Like, you got to know. And with that being said, I just think of, unfortunately, the COVID year for Duke. That team was 2-8. But you look, and they had like 44 turnovers in 10 games. And every time David Cook was like, yeah, you just got to correct the mistakes or correct the turnovers. Newsflash, you can't. Like, you don't practice it. I don't know if I'm sure they practiced it, but that 2020 team didn't. And you could be like, well, Duke was 2-8. Like, they had Chase Bryce. I know. But what made me so out on the David Cook era back then was 5 guys from that team got drafted in the NFL, the most ever out of a Duke program. And you won 2 games. I don't care about COVID. You had the talent, but you had the lack of discipline to use that talent to where it should have been. And so I don't want to see that year. I don't want to see that happen to this team. I'm not saying they're going to go 2-10, but if they go 7-5 with the talent they have, I do view that hypothetical as a down year, and which is weird to say about Duke football, but we watched them. People that are listening, we watched them against Illinois, and they're like, wow, Duke was the better team. And stats showed it, and the analytics showed it. They just shot themselves in the foot. And bad teams do that. And you got to be a good team and correct those mistakes, because you can be as talented as you want, but you can be a bad team and be talented. And that comes with not changing your ways with turning over the football.
Yeah, right now they're a talented team that's not talented enough to overcome the amount of mistakes that they're making.
Yeah, I mean,
I say that as a, it sounds like I'm saying that about them having watched them for half a season. It's been 2 games, and they've lost 1. So that's what I wrote, the harsh reality of it right now. But there's 10 games left to change that, and it's, I don't know if I expect it to change. I think it can. Schedule's not getting easier, though.
Schedule's not getting easier, but like I would like to see Duke run the ball a little bit more. I mean, I think it was shocked me that Jaquez Moore only had 5 carries because watching live during the game, I thought, he had 10, but I swear to God, all 5 carries, 4 of them at least came in the first drive. And
he had 6. The first 4 plays were all runs by him, but one of them was a face mask.
And I did like that. I liked that wrinkle by Brewer to be like, hey, like, we are a passing team. Oh, surprise, we're going to run it down your throat. And I liked that wrinkle. And I hope we kind of see that against Tulane, because I'll get to my prediction here, but like, I want to see Duke take advantage of being the stronger and more physical team in the trenches. And I feel like you bail out a team when you pass that much, when you have the advantage in the trenches, like when you have a first-round talent at left tackle, and then you have returning starters across the front, across the offensive line. Use that to your advantage and make them go forwards, as I talked about.
Right tackle.
Point still remains. Let them push forwards rather than always dropping back to protect Mensah, because you have a talented running back group. Because Jaquez looked really good catching the ball too. Like, he was an impactful player that I thought deserved a little bit more touches. And then Nate Shepard had another good game. And then Castle, I love Anderson Castle, dude. Like the 3rd and 2 run, he got a first down, but even the run, he got stuffed by Illinois' best linebacker for a 1-yard gain, but it knocked him out of the game for like 5 snaps because it's like, damn, this dude is big as hell. And he lit into Castle, but Castle ate it and it hurt the linebacker. And that's why I got a big back like that. And so utilize that to your advantage against a team like Tulane that is very talented, but doesn't have those big of guys that Illinois had.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, usually when you play down a level, and I hesitate to even say down a level because Tulane is one of the best in the G5. I mean, they're not your typical even ECU or God, they're not even close to Charlotte, I would imagine. But yeah, it is usually a matter. It's the top end talent is not the separator. The separator is depth, and the separator is a little bit more bulk and size on the lines.
Yeah, John Summerall is a great coach. I know like Tulane obviously has bitter feelings towards Duke. But look, it's been a great pipeline for Duke in the last year. Sion James did great things at Duke, and now Darian Mensah is doing good things and shows a high upside. But I do feel for Tulane fans, like joking aside, because look, Duke football was kind of in that same boat, and still kind of is, of getting their best talent poached. It hasn't happened in the last year, but we saw it happen with guys going to Notre Dame like Riley and RJ Oben and Brandon Johnson to Oregon, and Tulane had that happen with Mensah to Duke. Yeah, and these Peebles to Virginia Tech, a lot of guys. But I was saying with Tulane, Mensah to Duke, Malachi Hughes, I think it was, went to Oregon, and then their tight end, who was really talented, went to Miami. So, like, I understand, like, you feel like you get a good team, a really solid group, and they get up and leave for more money. I understand. But they're talented again this year. And the last guy, before I get predictions, to keep an eye on for Tulane is Jaheim Johnson. Game 1 against Northwestern, he had 4 pass deflections and an interception. So he was in Preston Stone's nightmares. He can be a guy that is very physical, guarding, I would assume, Barkate and maybe Andrew Anthony, who has been phenomenal for Duke so far. Just knock on wood that he stays healthy. So that being said, Connor, I want you to lead us off with predictions.
I have to give a prediction.
Are you giving your key to the game?
That's right. I'm giving key to the game.
Yeah, you give me key to the game.
Try to trick me into giving a prediction when I don't want to. I'm gonna try to make you spit up your Celsius.
My lifeline.
It's so cliched, but it's resiliency for Duke. And I guess what kind of goes along with that, Duke's going to make mistakes. No football team has ever played a perfect game. You're always going to have bad plays. Duke's bad plays can't be catastrophes.
Let me stop you right there, Connor. There was one football team in the last 24 hours that played a perfect game. That was the Indianapolis Colts, led by Daniel Jones, for the first time ever, basically, that a team scored on every offensive possession. But continue your rant. But shout out Daniel Jones.
They scored on every possession?
Yeah, scored on every possession.
How many field goals did they kick?
Doesn't matter. They scored 7 times. They won the game. Negative Nancy over here.
I don't think they scored 49. So how many field goals did they kick? Because that's not a perfect game if you're settling for field goals.
Damn it, Connor. Get back to your key of the game. I regret even barging in.
Duke is going to make mistakes. The mistakes can't be turnovers. They can't be 3rd and 20 conversions. They can't be, Manny Diaz's head might explode if they have another duplicate number penalty on this game. Kind of shocked that on the depth chart, they still have 2 8s, but it was a mistake by one of them. It's not like it was it was a mistake in the heat of the moment. That was whatever. But it's showing some resiliency from the mistakes. And that's where I look at it. The game sets up that way because Duke is coming off a loss. They'll have to have a resilient bounce back this week throughout practice. But it's also, once you get into the game, when you make the mistakes, you have to bounce back from them.
Yeah. To lean into that, Connor, about mistakes, I mean, that is a part of my prediction that I'm going to get into. And that is Duke stepping into a hostile environment. So they're coming off a disappointing loss where they beat themselves, making dumb mistakes. And the question is, do they rally or do they fold when the inevitable happens? They get punched in the mouth by Tulane, because Tulane's going to come out pissed off about Mensah. Like, everything is just going to be – everybody knows they circled Duke. Once this calendar came out, or once Mensah officially transferred to Duke because the calendar was already out, they're like, all right, we got Duke at home week 3. He's just going to get up and leave. Summerall even subtweeted about Duke. Like, there's bad blood there. Like, there is just bad blood to where Tulane's going to be ready for Duke, and Duke has to be ready for them to punch him in the mouth. Are you going to rally or are you going to fold? And that will honestly, to me, dictate how the rest of the season goes. Like, you can't just be like, oh, I'll fold against Tulane, and then next week against NC State, when Wallace Wade is 60-40 red, I'll be ready to play and I will fight back. No, you'll fold in that environment too. So you got to show against Tulane that what indicates you for the rest of the season. And so I will stick with my preseason prediction. I have Duke winning at Tulane. Darian Mensah homecoming, like I said, but I think Duke wins the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. I would like to see Wes Williams make an impact in the backfield in this game. Vincent Anthony has done a fantastic job. Duke's D-line, for the most part, has done a great job. But Duke needs to force a turnover. You got to force a turnover on the road to steal one on the road. You're an underdog. I think the wrong team's favored, but you're an underdog nonetheless. And I think when you talk about learn from your mistakes, this is where you learn from your mistake against Elon. Landon Clark ran all over you as the running quarterback. And it was like Manny Diaz said, we were chasing ghosts or chasing shadows. Well, guess what? You're getting a running quarterback 2 weeks later. So you have the tape, the bad film against Landon Clark. Did you learn from those mistakes, or are you going to give up those QB runs? Because if you didn't learn from those mistakes, it goes to everything we just said about like the Cutcliffe area where they're 2-8 and had 40 or 50 freaking turnovers with the most talented roster Duke's ever had. Or you learn from those mistakes and you make Retzlaff beat you through the air, which I like Duke's chances. I like Chandler Rivers, and I like the bounce back with the secondary. So with that being said, Duke, I think, will control the line of scrimmage defensively and offensively. They should run the ball, establish the run, and make them try and beat you. And I'll tell you what, I just remembered this on the fly. I mean, this is a homecoming for Nate Shepherd. Nate Shepherd is from there, and so let's give Nate Shepherd like 10 carries. Because he had an outstanding game against Illinois. His carries, his touches or snaps went up a little bit from Elon to Illinois. Give him a little bit more and see him have an explosive play at Tulane. And so I think Duke wins by I think Duke wins by a touchdown or more. But I have Duke winning this game.
I heard you say in that with that being said, and I was waiting for a transfer portal announcement.
No transfer portal announcement.
What podcast are you going to, Jordan?
No transfer portal announcement there. But yeah, I just think Duke will win this game because they have a lot of bad film in 2 weeks, and I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that as like a good learning experience. Hey, bad film against Elon in a win in a game that was 10-10 a half, and you blew them out in the second half. Learn from that mistake against Landon Clark. Bad film against Illinois with ball security on the offensive end and special teams. Can you learn from that? And if the sun is out somehow at 8 o'clock at night in Louisiana, for the love of God, don't catch a punt. If there's something happening where the sun is out at 8 p.m., I don't want to hear that bullshit where the sun's in his eyes. If I hear that the lights are in his eyes,
they're an hour behind, right?
So okay, 7. Yeah. Well, I was also going like fast forwarding an hour into the game.
Okay. Yeah. I got you.
But no, you're fine. But yes, if I have to hear there's another fumbles, like he lost in the lights, I'm out. Just catch the ball or don't catch it all. I will live with a 40-yard punt and you get out of the way and it rolls 20 yards for a 60-yard punt rather than you bobbling a catch. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with the special teams unit is like, I trust the offense to get me to the red zone. It's just, Can they kick a field goal? Can they not kick a field goal and not turn it over before they get to the 20?
Yeah.
So
I hear you.
that's all I got for this episode. Like I said, I'm confident Duke will win, even though, I just keep rambling about mistakes that could inevitably happen and just crush my soul. But I do think Duke wins this game. And I can't wait to be clipped by Tulane fans in this. And so if Duke does lose, I'm sure I'll see my face a lot on social media for my prediction. And luckily for you, you have the key of the game. So you get bailed out, Big J, as the little J will just have to eat shit.
I hate making predictions, man. It goes back. It's an old scar, but it's there.
It also, I was right about the Illinois. That was the one bet that I won this whole weekend. So talk about egg on my face. The one game, I mean, I won a couple more, but my overall record was disastrous. So maybe I can be right about this Duke game as well. I'll sacrifice my betting record again for this prediction to be right for Duke, and I lose every other bet. So that's it for the Big J, Little J show. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be back next week to recap Duke versus Tulane and preview Duke versus NC State.